New day, same project. Still working on the YJ. It needs a new heater core. It was leaking last winter, so I bypassed it, and now we're back to it. So, got the new radiator hoses put on yesterday. We'll look at those later, and then while we're in there doing the heater core, we're going to do the blower motor at the same time. And this is supposed to be the Chevy upgrade, as I call it online. It's the PM102 blower motor. Apparently it spins a little bit faster, so we're going to throw that in there while we're in, because by the time we pull the box out, we might as well just throw this in there too for, I think it was like 22 bucks. Why not? That'll save us from being back in that box in, 6 months to a year, whenever the blower motor decides to go out. It's already making a bunch of noise, so let's get to it. First, we're going to pull the battery box to try and get access to all of these nuts that are on the studs that go through the firewall. Should be the drain hose for the whole assembly inside the big plastic box for the condenser, if you had air conditioning. Alright, so it feels like we got all of the bolts out from the firewall. We got her pulled out and dropped down a little bit. We're going to try and get these cables disconnected. So we'll go get a pair of pliers. Let's see. Might be safer just to remove the cable from the keeper. Yep. And that way we won't break those retainers. And just work the mounts off. Work the cable off the mount. Now we're free on this side. Should have one over here and one on the end. Back to the front side of the firewall, because somebody cut the heater core hoses to bypass and left them attached to the heater core, so it's not going to come out like that. Let's go undo them. So much easier. So these are the cable retainers. Problem is, if you grab onto those, a lot of times they're gonna break. Because the way they're designed is kind of one-time use. They're flat, and then as you push them on, they cone out, and these little fingers grab into the groove there. So instead of messing those up, I've decided to just remove the cable from the whole retainer like that. Now that is going to require some readjustment to get it back in the same spot, but because I'm not going to be yanking on these cables, hopefully the blender doors stay in the same position. We'll see. We can figure that out, not a big deal. Then to remove these, you got these two ears in here. If you can see those two ears in there, and we just have to push those in and try not to break them, because if we break them like I did on the other one, it's going to be a pain in the butt to deal with later. Watch out for all your random wires that we need to clean up. Alright, now we're in the garage with our extremely dirty heater box. Got some rust. We'll probably wire brush it down and touch it up with some spray paint. The rest of it's plastic and it's just filthy. So once we get this blower motor out of here and this back case opened up, we'll take the hose to it and clean it up a bit. Let's see what it takes to get into this. Looks like a lot of little screws. So I guess we'll get started on them. So these are all 8mm. The perimeter ones look to be smaller. Quarter-inch. We'll look at that in a minute. Yeah, we'll do a good cleanup on this guy. Dirty, dirty, dirty. Blender door. Should be to turn on the heat or just have the vent, outside air, heat, defroster, or just your low end. I don't have the dashboard vents, so it just blows straight down. Alright, let's see. Try to be gentle with this because we're going to reuse, maybe. course, it doesn't want to play nice. Okay. Oh yeah. We were leaking all right. Old, new. Looks like the mounting flange is the same. Definitely a larger motor, which means our seal isn't going to fit, so we might be using some sealant. Let's see about getting this guy put on. Look at that. One thing the heater in that thing needs an improvement. Honestly, not bad. Let's see. Well, that's an improvement. That's, you know, unregulated, full bore, but you know, that was pretty fast. Let's throw her in. This is why you disconnect your hose from the house and drain it when it's below freezing. It's my hose. I'll kink it if I want to. Let's go have a look at that firewall. See if we need to clean behind it while these dry. And then we'll hit this with some wire brush and paint. Yeah, so the firewall's just a little dirty. Probably just bring the hose in here and spray it out. Rust-wise, not a spot. This Jeep overall is really good for rust. It's got it had your rust on the rear part of the frame where it connects to the back bumper and cross member, but when I first got it years ago. I think it was 2014. I just made a new bumper for the back of it and plated it into the original frame. You can see the original frame is in really good shape, other than that one rear spot. Then there's my long radius arms. The only spot this Jeep has had rust is right here on both sides, which has caused it to rust through on the body in here. But somebody before me put these, I don't know, body armor. They put these body armor pieces on. And then one of my first tubing vending projects, after I got my JD squared vendor, was these. They don't serve as a step very well because you have to jump so high to get in. They actually kind of hinder getting in and out of the Jeep, but they sure look cool. And push the tree branches off of the Jeep body. Three and a half, give or take. 3.5 would be plenty. So now for the not fun part of this install. Let's figure out how we're going to cut this hole. Alright, what I decided to do was take a couple pre-existing holes and use those with some wood screws, washers, because the holes are larger than my wood screw heads. Screw in this piece of wood, center hole, and then we're going to use a hole saw that you can just buy locally from Lowe's or Home Depot or wherever, Ace Hardware. And we're going to use that to enlarge this hole. This is bigger than it needs to be. This is a 4-inch, and we only need 3.5. But this will give us some room, and it really won't be a problem. So this is something that everybody can do at home. I could have got the plasma cutter out and used a guide and just plasma cut this hole, but not everybody can do that. So let's try this. We'll just use metal fatigue to get the rest of this. Alright, we have our 4-inch hole drilled using that hole saw. We're going to pull these wood screws out now, remove our piece of wood, and then just clean this up with a file, and then hit it with some primer and some paint. I think will fit now. I'm going to try some of this Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer. I've never used it before. We're going to try it on this.
Story must write yours. Call Mortgage Solutions Financial today. Call 540-3890.
I just want to get 2 good coats on the rusty spots.
Plus, every new Kia comes with
If you've never seen one of these, this is a ceramic blade utility knife or box cutter. These things super sharp. They don't come with many, like a very long blade to break off, but they stay sharp for a very long time. But yeah, they're pretty sweet. I use these at work a lot, so. What we have here is the new heater core, and we need to put this foam around it to help it seal. So we're gonna grab the old one. So it looks like we have foam around the bottom here, up the side, and then just overlapping about 1/2 of an inch. Yep. And because we have it and it's compressible, let's throw some more on here. This blender door here is just disgusting. So I don't think I have any of this kind of foam laying around. I'll have to go check out my storage in the basement. But worst case, I know I have some closed cell foam, and we can put that on there if we even need it. I'll check it out, see what it does. I don't really even know if you need foam on the entire thing. You really just need it on the ceiling area, so we'll see where it seals. And worst case, I probably have some foam with some 3M sticky on the backside laying around. But let's see this thing. It's just might as well hit this with some spray paint as well after we get this glue off. Not really sure how necessary the foam is, but we're going to put some back anyway. Get some scissors. So what I think we're going to do is put a piece down here, overhang it just a little bit like it was before, smash the two of them together, and then trim it so it's thinner, about the same thickness as it was before, about half this thick. Let's see if this is a waste of time or not. Maybe not. I guess the only spots we really need to worry about thickness on are these where they make contact with the top and bottom. This side just rides along the body here. So the only reason I really want to trim it is because of the throw on the lever. I want it to be as accurate as possible. Let's see how this is going to work. That'll work. So it looks like this hole. Alright, it looks like this hole and this hole secure the heater core in place with those little screws that we had. And then this is for the blender door here, that hole. So probably best off attaching the heater core to this and then sliding the whole thing in. And I've got this gasket maker here to put around the edge. That's what I have. I've had this tube for a while now. It's probably going to go bad soon, so might as well use it on this than let it go to waste. And of course, they doesn't line up with the stock holes. So we might only be getting one screw in. That will be annoying. So let's see. Alright, I don't want to manual handle it, but what I think we might do is see if it fits and then run a self-tapping screw in. Okay. Not very happy about that, but she's in there. To do that, you just have to watch out for that end cap there. So if you hit that and put a hole in it, you get to start over and order a new one. pretty good. It's actually perfect. Now we just have to make it stay right there. That'll do it. Alright, we got our caulking on here, or our gasket maker. Again, not necessarily for the sealing ability, but the vibration. It acts as kind of like a rubber spacer. So we'll pull it in tight, and it will also glue it, so there won't be any way for it to kind of vibrate and rub, making noise. Now I just have to remember how this thing went on here. We had this foam piece here. We don't have it there. So to keep the fumes from the engine bay and hot air from coming in from the engine bay, we're gonna go ahead and get some more of that foam that I had and just throw it on here. Try and make it look as good as we can. So like I was saying before, because we left the retainers on and we pulled the cable out from the clips, we're going to be worried about adjustment here. And we can get to the other two, but this one is impossible to get to once it's in. So what we're going to do is set it to recirculate on our selector on the dash, and then over here we'll know to put the door to the recirculate position, which would be right here, and then we can attach our cable. Alright, so after screwing with this thing, I realized it's not necessarily a recirculate option, it is an option for vent. So when you put it to vent, it says vent. When you put it to vent, you're just taking the air from outside based on your speed. It's coming through the tubing off the cowling area and then into the cab of the Jeep. And there's blockers just barely enough so that you're still pulling some air to go through the box. So when you have it on heat, this is completely closed, and then as you pull it to vent, this guy opens up, allowing, like I said, the draft air to come in off the cowling. So, correct myself there. Anyway, let's put it to vent. That should be pulled all the way up and attach our cable. So that closes out the video for today. We got the new heater core put in, the new blower fan. We did some new heater hoses, and now we're just waiting on a filter for the coolant filter that I put on. It's a screw-on Wix brand filter. So once that comes in, we'll be able to replace that, and then we should get some better flow to the heater core. It's blowing warm right now. It's not hot yet, and that's the only thing in the way that would stop it from blowing completely hot. So once that comes in, we'll throw it in, and then we should be ready to rock and roll. Well, we got a bunch of parts in for a couple different projects we're working on. One of the things we've been waiting on for this is the water filter. It's Wix 24070, and that just filters all of the antifreeze before it goes into the heater core. And it does a really good job. However, because this block, I bought it, supposed to be a recent rebuild, and it wasn't so recent, and somebody was running it with just water, so it had a lot of rust inside the block, which I've done so many flushes on this engine and detergents inside of the cooling jacket and everything, and it's not too bad now. It's a lot better, but because of that, it seems like I've got to put one of these new filters on it at least probably once every 6 months. But we'll pull the old one off, put the new one on, and then I'll cut the old one open, and we'll see what's going on inside of it. But that's pretty much the last thing that we have to do to wrap up this Jeep, and it's pretty much ready to get back on the road after that. But let's get this filter spun off, new one spun on, and let's see what the old one looks like. That actually isn't too terribly bad. That's not too bad. The first probably 3 filters I went through on this were just excessively gummed up. So I guess running the detergent through there and running these filters regularly, changing them out, really helped out clean up all the crud out of that water jacket.